I am 26 years old, and social anxiety controlled me for years. So eventually, I turned to mindfulness, meditation, and transformative spirituality. And after going on these retreats, thousands of hours of mindfulness and meditation, working with teachers, I realized that social anxiety, by and large, all boils down to one hidden assumption. And I don't say hidden to make it some sort of, weird, mysterious thing. Hidden because if you examine the assumption closely, then it just dissolves in your hands. And that's exactly what I want to talk about in this video. We're going to figure out what that assumption is and go through the process that we can use to dissolve it. So the first part of this video, I'm going to talk about what that assumption is, how to fix it, and then at the end, we're going to go through a sort of meditation to potentially produce a transformation in you right now at the end of the video. If that sounds good, tune in, get yourself a snack, and here we go. So first of all, social anxiety, I did some research. I wanted to look into the impact that it had on people's health, because that's an important part of anxiety and stress, is how it impacts your health. And it turns out that social anxiety is lethal to an extent. And this is because the fight or flight response that it creates, chronic anxiety that it can create because we're in a social society, that anxiety can actually increase your rates of disease and lower longevity. Additionally, social isolation is shown to increase early death by about as much as obesity or having 15 cigarettes a day. So that's social isolation. And having strong social bonds, on the contrary, is a major marker of a high lifespan. Now, this is just in the studies I looked up. You can just do some research on your own if you want. I also would be willing to wager that having good social relationships is one of the best sources of having an actual high quality, enjoying, lovable life full of laughter. So social anxiety threatens all of these things. If you want to get a grip on your health and your relationships, you've got to get a grip on the social anxiety part. What do most people do about their social anxiety? Some try alcohol, and that may work as a temporary solution. Other people try learning social skills. They try coming across better, getting fit, increasing their self-esteem. But none of these things actually work. And the reason none of these things actually work is because while you may come across like James Bond, you can literally come across as smooth as butter, James Bond himself. But it won't touch the core hidden assumption that's generating the social anxiety. So the one assumption hidden beneath the surface that generates 99%, let's say, of social anxiety is that somehow this interaction is a threat to me. That is the assumption, that this interaction is a threat. And this is not a normal basic assumption. This is a deeply felt assumption. It feels like I could do something wrong, and if I did, my life would be in danger. It feels like I am in danger, and because of that, I need to be tense and serious right now. It feels like if I'm perceived the wrong way, then I might die. That's basically what it feels like. Now, is this state of high stress completely useless? No, I don't think so. I think that would be the perfect state for driving a forklift for the first time. It could be the perfect state for delivering medication to someone who's overdosing. It'd be the perfect state for negotiating with a hostage situation, potentially. I mean, you could make a case that it's not. Regardless, it's not the right state to develop a genuine connection with somebody. You probably know this if you have social anxiety. When that state kicks in, you enter a point where you're not relatable to other people because you're scared. You feel tense. It's a rush of chemicals that makes it impossible for you to have those chemicals of connection, bonding, and joyous experiences of relationships. So because of that, it ruins your potential to actually have good social interactions. We know the problem, which is there's a deeply held, felt assumption that somehow this interaction is a threat to me. All you need to do is clearly see where that assumption lives inside of you and rewire it to the point where you realize there's not a threat. So let me give you an analogy. Imagine you move to a house out in the middle of the mountains. You're in a big house, and one day the fire alarm goes off. The fire alarm is a threat warning system that's telling you you are about to be burned alive. Just like in a social situation, the anxiety spike is a threat warning system telling you something horrible is about to happen, especially if you say something wrong. Now, in a house with a fire alarm going off, if you want to be able to turn off the fire alarm, you first have to check every room in the house to make sure there's no fire. Now, I mean, obviously, a real fire alarm, you want to get out of the house or you could die. So this is just an analogy. But in the sake of the analogy, you check every part of the house, and at a certain point, you reach confidence that there's no fire. You check the kitchen, you check the stove, you check the microwave, you check the laundry room, the bedrooms. You go into the bathroom and you see that the hair straightener is unplugged, and so is the hair dryer. There's no fire in the garage. At a certain point, the conviction that it was a false alarm kicks in, and then you can turn off the fire alarm and start to enjoy your house once again. You can start to cook a delicious meal. And the same thing is true with the social anxiety thing. As soon as that false alarm comes up, what we're going to do is examine the situation, examine what's actually happening, not your thoughts about that say what they think is about what's happening, but we're actually going to enter every room. We're going to go to every experience and see truly if there's a threat. Now, step one of this whole process is realizing that your social anxiety is a false sense of threat. And the second step of this process is realizing that it's potentially a false alarm. And this is why I like the analogy so much, because with a fire alarm, you can literally be cooking up a delicious meal, and the smoke from the meal might tell the fire alarm to go off. And so now from going from cooking a delicious meal, a threat warning has gone off saying you're about to be burned alive, which is the fire alarm. Same thing socially, you might be cooking up a great conversation or cooking up a great potential new friendship. And suddenly your body says you're about to die if you say the wrong thing. In the case of a fire alarm, we can explore a house. We can explore every room to see where a fire would potentially be. In a social situation, what we're going to examine is experience. And we're going to examine experience from your point of view and from every other point of view of every possible person in the social interaction. And so stick with me, we're going to go through that in a second. And the reason why we're going through experience is because at the end of the day, if you think back to any of your social interactions, from your own point of view, as far as you were concerned, all that happened, all that you actually touched directly was an experience. It was a colorful, potentially uncomfortable set of experiences. So we're going to examine all of those. And we're going to go through all of your senses. So that includes sights, sounds, touch, emotion, thought, consciousness. And then we're going to go through every other person in the room, examine what they might be experiencing from the perspective of sight, sound, touch, emotion, I guess taste and smell if you want to throw that in, and their thoughts and consciousness. And we're going to see if there's any threats. And then I'm going to tell you to do that practice while you're in a real social interaction. If you're ready and you want the guidance component Then stay tuned, and here we go. So I'm going to slow down a lot here, um, because we're going to do an investigation of our experience. So feel free to keep looking at me, or feel free to close your eyes gently. In either case, I'm going to guide us through this nice and slowly together. So go ahead and relax the body. We're going to start by taking 3 nice, deep breaths. And every time you exhale, letting the body soften just a little bit more. What I'd like you to do is gently conjure up the last social interaction that you can remember. Anyone will do. Picture the situation in your mind's eye. And I want you to notice what experiences you were having. The image you were seeing of the other person, the sounds, the ambiance, the sensations in your body. The emotions in your body. Potentially there was a tension there if there was some anxiety. Or maybe this particular interaction was all laughter and joy. Potentially a stream of thoughts that you may have been having, if you can remember any of those. And of course, I'd like you to notice that there was a consciousness, or the fact that these experiences were conscious to you. Somehow you knew that they were happening. We're taking a full stock of experience here. Was anything happening in your direct experience other than vision, sound, sensation, emotion, and thought? And just range over your memory, touch every piece of it until you're confident that we have taken a full and exhaustive inventory of your experience. After all, if we take away the sights, sounds, sensations, emotions, and thoughts from this interaction, the whole interaction disappears, does it not? And now, since we're confident that we have a full inventory of the experience, we're going to look for a threat in any one of these experiences. Starting off with visual perception. Can any visual perception in a social interaction be a threat to you? Really wonder if this is potentially true, and ask yourself this question genuinely. I'm not asking you to refer to what your thoughts may say about it. Perhaps your thoughts may say, what if I see something scary or traumatizing? I'm not asking about the emotions of fear or trauma. I'm just asking about the visual image itself, the visual content. And if you thoroughly look, you may notice that no visual image was ever or could ever be a threat to you. This goes for all your past interactions, and this goes for all the future ones as well. Now you're getting the feel of what we're doing here. We're going to switch to auditory. Can the sound of any voice, music, ambiance, even if someone is saying something disapproving to you, does the sound content itself ever threaten you? Has sound content ever left you with damage? Are you here with damage from your past auditory experiences? Or have they all come and left you and were never really a threat? Now, hopefully, you're already able to get a sense of relief a little bit by noticing that you are safe, at least in your sounds and sights of social interactions. Now we're going to move to sensations. Imagine a sensation of tension or anxiety in a social interaction. Imagine later a sensation of joy and happiness. While the sensations may have a positive charge or a negative charge, a comfortable charge that you want to lean into, or an uncomfortable charge, prompting an escape. Are the sensations themselves a threat to you? Or are the sensations themselves something that you feel every day and have just been messengers in your body? And potentially we can notice that no, the sensations aren't a threat to me. I've gone through many uncomfortable sensations, many uncomfortable emotions and experiences, but none of them were actually a threat. No configuration of emotion and sensation in the body was actually a threat, despite it potentially being uncomfortable. And I actually know how to deal with an uncomfortable situation. It's not something to be afraid of. It's just an uncomfortable situation. And now lastly, and perhaps most tricky, I'd like you to go to your thoughts in this social interaction. Now, if your social interaction was a pleasant one, chances are your thoughts were just a stream of content things to say, things about the other person. Maybe they were self-conscious thoughts, what this person was thinking about me. But is having any particular thought a threat to you? Can you think of a thought you've ever had in a social interaction that was actually a threat? Now, let's take the thought, for example. This person is going to punch me. A physical threat, right? While the thought is warning you of a physical threat, the thought itself didn't actually threaten you. Could any potential thought you would ever have actually threaten you? Or are they all interpretations of other things? Thoughts can claim threat, but they in themselves are not threat. So take a moment to relax back to your body here. Now, hopefully, you've reached a certain level of freedom and liberation here. What we've just done is we've downgraded your experience of social anxiety from this interaction is a threat to me to anything I could possibly experience could only amount to, at the worst, discomfort and interpretation. We've gone from threat to discomfort and interpretation. In fact, your entire day is filled with mild discomfort and interpretation. So you can realize now, if this is available for you, that the sense of threat in a social interaction is misplaced, because all you will bump into at its worst is discomfort, and that's really it. There's no need to be anxious about that, because there is no threat possible within your experience. Now, this should already be a beautiful freedom if you have social anxiety, but we're going to take it one step further before we're done. Realize that from any other point of view, as in from any other person's perspective, all that's happening is sight, sound, thought, sensation, and consciousness. Across your experience and any other person's experience, all there is experience itself. Ask yourself genuinely, can anyone actually touch and know or witness anything other than direct experience? Because we are consciousness, we cannot. Just like in this moment, all you know is experience. All anyone in any social interaction will ever know is experience. And what I'd like you to do now, at the close of our meditation, is really feel into it. Feel that in every perspective, all that's happening is sight, sound, thought, sensation, emotion, and consciousness And that within that exhaustive list, really feel that there is not a threat there. And you can really look as hard as you want to. Really look at every room in this house to see that there's no fire. Well, we'll wrap it up here. Hopefully, this brought you a sense of relief. As always, thanks for watching. If you'd like to chat with me, my link is in the description. If you'd like personalized input from me on where you are in your meditation, link to a 90-second quiz is in the description as well. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.